In the calm of his presence, others sense something deeper. That subtle tension, that slight hesitation in someone else's voice when they speak to him. Not because he ever raises his tone, but because his very stillness says, I am here, I matter, I will not move for you. We often talk about the alpha man and the visible power he wields, the loud voice, the firm handshake, the spotlight. But the Sigma male, the man who walks his own path, outside the traditional hierarchy, carries a different kind of power. He may believe he is quiet. He may even downplay his influence. Yet in everyday life, in the choices he makes, in the energy he holds, he becomes intimidating, often without fully realizing it. This isn't about showing off. It's about authentic internal strength. It's about a man whose value doesn't depend on applause, but on his own alignment. And it's about the way the world subconsciously reacts to that alignment when you stop seeking approval, when you stop asking permission, when you reliably deliver on your commitments. People notice. They feel it, even if they cannot fully articulate why. Today, we'll explore 6 subtle signs that reveal when a Sigma male is more intimidating than he realizes. These signs aren't about flashiness. They're about consistency, inner calm, boundaries, and invisible signals. For you, whether you identify as a Sigma male or simply admire this type of masculinity. These insights will help you recognize the depth of your presence, the value of your quiet power, and perhaps show you how people already respond to you in ways you didn't imagine. So lean back, allow the voice of calm observation, and let's walk slowly through these truths together. Because when a Sigma man realizes his own weight, his impact shifts, and no one needs to raise a voice for others to feel it. Number 1, he speaks less, yet when he does, people listen. A Sigma male often uses fewer words than most men around him, but when he chooses to speak, his words come from a place of clarity, not noise. This habit isn't just a personality quirk. It's rooted in psychology and social dynamics. In communication science, brevity is often associated with confidence and authority. People who speak less are perceived as more competent and emotionally intelligent because their silence signals control, not uncertainty. This makes listeners lean in, eager to decode every word that follows. Sigma males understand this instinctively. They don't waste words trying to impress others or fill awkward silences. Instead, they let silence do the heavy lifting. Research in social behavior even shows that pauses and minimal responses increase perceived dominance in group conversations. The Sigma male's restraint, therefore, becomes a silent form of leadership. His calmness in speech mirrors his calmness in thought. When he does speak, he communicates with precision, cutting straight through the noise. It's not what he says that commands attention, but the way he says it, measured, thoughtful, and free of emotional clutter. This kind of verbal discipline is both rare and powerful in a world obsessed with oversharing. Others can feel it. They sense a gravity in his presence because he doesn't compete for attention. He draws it naturally. His silence unsettles those who rely on loudness for validation, and his words often carry more weight simply because they are few. The result is quiet dominance. It isn't aggression or manipulation, but a deeper, almost primal signal of self-assurance. People subconsciously recognize that this man speaks only when it matters, and that makes them listen more carefully. Over time, his concise communication builds respect and Sometimes even intimidation, not because he seeks control, but because he embodies it. In essence, the Sigma male's speech pattern reflects his entire worldview: simplicity over showmanship, depth over drama. His clarity cuts through confusion like a blade through fog. And while others talk to be heard, he speaks to be understood. It's this deliberate contrast between his silence and his substance that defines his mysterious allure and makes his presence unforgettable. Number 2, he keeps commitments and misses nothing. In a world filled with broken promises, half-finished goals and empty declarations, the Sigma male stands apart for one simple but powerful reason: he keeps his word. Whether it's a quiet commitment made to himself in the middle of the night or a promise to a friend or colleague, his reliability becomes his unspoken signature. This habit isn't born from a desire to impress others, but from deep self-respect and discipline. Research in behavioral psychology shows that consistency is one of the strongest markers of personal integrity, and individuals who follow through on commitments tend to be perceived as more trustworthy, capable, and emotionally stable. A Sigma male's ability to deliver again and again builds a quiet kind of power, one that doesn't need loud affirmation or applause. It's his reliability, not his words, that people remember. Over time, this dependability creates a gravitational field of trust around him. Colleagues rely on him without hesitation, friends confide in him, and even skeptics watch closely, trying to understand why he never seems to falter. Ironically, his calm consistency can make others uneasy. In a society that normalizes excuses and last-minute changes, someone who shows up every time becomes a mirror exposing how unreliable others may be. That mirror effect can stir discomfort, even resentment, because his presence reminds people of their own broken promises. This is one reason why Sigma males often appear intimidating without ever trying to be. They don't speak loudly, but their actions echo louder than most people's words. Sociologists often describe this type of influence as behavioral dominance, the kind of authority that doesn't come from rank or aggression, but from quiet competence. The Sigma male doesn't need to control anyone. He simply leads by example. His discipline, punctuality, and respect for his own standards signal strength. This consistency becomes a form of social currency, earning him respect in workplaces, relationships, and communities. People learn that when he says he'll do something, it's as good as done. In truth, his reliability is more than a personality trait. It's a philosophy. It's the belief that words matter, that integrity isn't optional, and that greatness is built on small, consistent acts. In a world where promises are easily made and easily broken, the Sigma male's quiet dependability feels rare, even revolutionary. And that quiet reliability, more than anything else, is what makes him both respected and deeply intimidating. Number 3, he sets boundaries without announcing them. Public declarations, defensive stances, and loud refusals often reveal something most people don't notice: insecurity. When a man feels the need to constantly announce his limits or defend his choices, it's usually because he fears they won't be respected otherwise. The Sigma male, however, operates on an entirely different frequency. He doesn't need to tell the world who he is. His actions do that for him. Rather than debating or explaining his boundaries, he embodies them. If someone disrespects his time, energy, or values, he quietly steps back, never chasing validation or attempting to prove a point. This calm withdrawal speaks louder than confrontation. ever could. Psychology recognizes this as non-reactive confidence, a state where self-assurance is internal rather than dependent on others' approval. It's a rare quality that naturally commands respect. Over time, people come to understand that there are lines they simply don't cross with him. His boundaries aren't written or shouted, they're sensed. This silent firmness has a profound psychological effect. Humans are wired to test limits, consciously or not, to understand where they stand with others. But when someone responds with composed detachment instead of emotional reactivity, it unsettles the dynamic. The Sigma's stillness communicates strength, much like a calm lion that doesn't need to roar to assert dominance. Studies in social behavior confirm that individuals who demonstrate quiet confidence are often perceived as more powerful and competent. Their restraint suggests control, and control, especially emotional control, is deeply intimidating. What makes this so magnetic is that the Sigma male's boundaries aren't built from arrogance, but self-respect. He's aware of his worth and energy, and he refuses to waste either on unnecessary drama. This kind of self-possession draws people in while simultaneously keeping them cautious. They sense that he is unshakable, not because he is cold, but because he knows himself. In a world obsessed with validation and noise, that inner composure feels both mysterious and powerful. Over time, the Sigma's quiet discipline shapes how others treat him. They adapt, recalibrate, and respect the invisible code he lives by. And that is the essence of true intimidation, not in loud threats or forced displays of dominance, but in the subtle, unwavering presence of a man who doesn't need to prove a thing. Number 4, his comfort in solitude becomes strength. Solitude is often mistaken for loneliness, but for the Sigma male, it is something entirely different. It's his sanctuary, a space where his thoughts expand and his energy regenerates. Unlike many who fear the silence of being alone, the Sigma male sees solitude as a tool, not a punishment. In psychology, solitude has long been linked with creativity and self-awareness. Studies from institutions like Harvard and the University of Virginia show that moments of intentional isolation can enhance focus, emotional regulation, and problem-solving ability. The Sigma male embodies this truth. When others are distracted by constant social noise, he thrives in the quiet. His solitude is not empty. It's productive, reflective, and deeply spiritual. It's in that stillness where he observes, recalibrates, and realigns with his goals. This is the secret behind his confidence. It doesn't come from applause or attention, but from understanding himself at a level few dare to explore. People often sense something different about him. He walks through life with an energy that says, "I'm complete on my own." That psychological independence subtly rewires social dynamics. When someone doesn't need validation or approval, others begin to feel drawn toward them. Not because of arrogance, but because independence is magnetic. It reflects emotional maturity, something rare in a world obsessed with external approval. Social psychologists call this the autonomy effect, the phenomenon where self-sufficient individuals naturally command respect and intrigue. This is why the Sigma male seems intimidating, not because he exudes dominance or aggression, but because his calm self-containment exposes others' dependency on external affirmation. His quiet strength reminds people of what they lack, peace with themselves. He uses solitude like an artist uses color, shaping it into insight, discipline, and purpose. In solitude, he learns, reads, trains, and reflects. He turns his inner world into a laboratory for growth. Ancient philosophers like Seneca and Marcus Aurelius echoed this mindset centuries ago, teaching that solitude was not withdrawal from life, but immersion in truth. Similarly, the Sigma male doesn't isolate to escape. He isolates to evolve. He emerges from his quiet like a sharpened blade, composed, purposeful, and aware. People call him intimidating because he doesn't chase. He attracts. He doesn't perform. He embodies. And perhaps the greatest irony is this: the very solitude that separates him from others is what ultimately makes others drawn to him. Number 5, he invests in what matters, invisibly. Loud success often echoes through social media feeds, parties, and boardrooms, but it's rarely as stable as it looks. It tends to impress in the moment, yet fades when the applause stops. The Sigma male, however, plays a different game. He doesn't chase attention, he builds foundations. While others measure progress by how many people notice their achievements, he measures his by the skills he's mastered, the habits he's refined, and the inner discipline he's built quietly over time. His focus is on long-term value, not on noise, but on depth. Psychologically, this mindset aligns with the principle of delayed gratification, famously demonstrated in the Stanford Marshmallow Experiment, where those who could wait for a greater reward later achieved more success in life. The Sigma embodies this principle naturally. He invests energy into what compounds silently: self-control, mental clarity, and adaptability. His growth happens beneath the surface, much like roots growing unseen before a tree bursts upward. While others are broadcasting their progress, the Sigma male is perfecting his craft behind closed doors. This behavior mirrors the quiet mastery observed in high-performance individuals across fields like martial arts, chess, and entrepreneurship. They understand that consistency, not spectacle, is what turns effort into excellence. Neuroscientifically, his habits reshape neural pathways through a process known as neuroplasticity, where repetition strengthens brain connections, making him more capable and composed over time. When his results finally surface, they don't need an introduction. They speak for themselves. A calm confidence that unsettles those who rely on external validation. People who once dismissed his silence now feel uneasy in his presence because they realize he's been evolving while they were observing. His success, built on patience and discipline, exposes their distraction and dependence on recognition. This silent progress creates an aura of intimidation, not through arrogance, but through undeniable proof. It's the quiet student who surpasses the loud ones, the colleague who delivers perfection without boasting, the man who lets his life, not his words, do the talking. In the end, what intimidates others most isn't his strength, but his solitude. The fact that he doesn't need anyone to believe in him for his path to unfold. While they watched, he worked. While they spoke, he acted. And when the results arrived, they realized he'd been building an empire in silence. One habit, one decision, and one disciplined day at a time. Number 6, he remains calm when others escalate. Conflict, drama, and emotional outbursts often reveal how deeply people crave control. But ironically, the ones trying hardest to dominate are usually the least in command of themselves. The Sigma male operates on a completely different wavelength. In moments of tension where most would raise their voice or react impulsively, he pauses. That brief silence, that measured breath before he speaks or chooses not to, signals mastery. This isn't avoidance, it's strategy. Psychologists call this emotional regulation, the ability to manage one's emotional responses rather than being ruled by them. It's a rare skill, and it commands more respect than aggression ever could. When a Sigma male refuses to be provoked, he disarms the manipulator. His calm feels unnerving because it mirrors back the other person's chaos. They call it coldness, but in truth it's discipline, an unspoken lesson in power dynamics. Historically, the greatest leaders, from Marcus Aurelius to modern Stoics and thinkers, understood that self-mastery is the ultimate strength. Science backs this too. Studies in behavioral psychology show that individuals who can delay emotional reactions, make better decisions under stress, maintain stronger relationships, and project confidence effortlessly. The Sigma male's quietness isn't detachment, it's awareness. While others drown in noise, he reads the room, decodes intention, and maintains control of his emotional landscape. This ability to stay centered, even when provoked, makes him unpredictable. And unpredictability is inherently intimidating. People can't manipulate what they can't predict. That's the paradox. True control doesn't shout, it whispers. It's not about dominating others, but mastering oneself so completely that external chaos no longer dictates internal peace. And when a man reaches that level of composure, his presence alone challenges the emotional instability in others. That's the quiet intimidation of self-mastery, the kind that speaks volumes without uttering a single word. Recognizing these signs isn't about ego, it's about awareness, seeing the depth of who you are and how the world already responds to it. If you identify with these truths, you're not just moving through life. You're walking with intention, clarity, and calm power. And if you recognize someone like this, respect him. This kind of masculinity doesn't demand attention, it earns it. If you found value in this, subscribe for more. Share this with a man who walks the path quietly. Remember, being intimidating isn't about force. It's about alignment so deep that the world naturally adjusts. Having said this, Sigmas, listen close. In the quiet hours, when the world stops demanding attention, when the noise dies down and the only voice you hear is your own, you begin to feel it. That subtle shift in the air, the point at which you know you have given, you have trusted, you have held space, and yet the return does not come. You know you've done your part. You've carried your integrity, you've made your commitments, and you've shown your worth. And now, something changes. The mirror becomes clear. The message inside echoes, enough. Not in anger, not in rage, but in stillness. The man who once opened the door for every opportunity, who granted countless chances, now pauses. He sees the pattern. He recognizes the lack of reciprocity. He realizes the effort that remains one-sided. And in that moment, he issues his final warning, not with shouts, but with silence. This is the moment that defines you. It's not the moment of confrontation, it's the moment of clarity. The man stands in his truth, free from illusion. He turns inward, asks the hard questions, and quietly resolves, no more. The threshold has been crossed. The value he brings is no longer misused. His time and energy are no longer for the uncommitted. He protects the peace he has built, and so you'll notice it. Fewer invitations, fewer unsolicited attempts. The depth of your connection won't be weighted by convenience. The conversations will become fewer and more meaningful. The presence will be measured, because the high-value man does not warn twice. He lets go. In this video, we will walk through 6 quiet truths about this final warning, not out of fear, but out of respect. for yourself, for your boundaries, for the life you're creating. Recognizing this moment doesn't mean you are cold or unkind. It means you are conscious and grown. It means you are choosing peace, purpose, and alignment over drama, imbalance, and neglect. Stay with me. This is for the man who realizes his loyalty is finite when respect is absent. His clarity is the map to a better version of himself. And this warning, it's the line he draws in the sand. Number one, he won't chase anymore. The high-value man has reached a quiet realization, the kind that comes after cycles of giving, trying, and waiting for reciprocity, that never truly arrives. Once upon a time, he extended himself beyond reason, making himself available long after others had gone silent. But there comes a point when a man who knows his worth no longer chases validation through effort. He has already given. He has already asked. Now he simply observes. This is not arrogance, it's awareness. In psychology, this shift is known as emotional detachment, a healthy mechanism that allows individuals to protect their energy and prioritize self-respect over people-pleasing. When the high-value man stops sending the extra message or lingering after the last call, he is practicing what behavioral science calls self-boundary reinforcement. Boundaries are not walls, they're gates, built to regulate access, not to block connection. His silence is not punishment, it's communication through absence. In social dynamics, this is a form of what experts describe as non-verbal assertion, a quiet but powerful statement that says, I value my time, my peace, and my presence. The high-value man understands something that many overlook. Availability without balance leads to emotional depletion. Studies on interpersonal relationships have consistently shown that over-accommodation often breeds disrespect, while balanced independence fosters mutual admiration. When he steps back, it's not a retreat born of anger, but a return to equilibrium. He's recalibrating his life, ensuring his priorities reflect self-discipline and purpose rather than emotional impulse. His withdrawal is a study in masculine restraint, a rare quality in a world driven by instant reactions. In Stoic philosophy, such restraint is a mark of inner strength. Marcus Aurelius wrote that true power lies in self-command, not control over others. The high-value man embodies this ideal. He no longer seeks to convince anyone of his worth. He allows his consistency and calm detachment to speak louder than words ever could. By honoring his own schedule and space, he reclaims the energy once scattered across others' expectations. What appears as distance is in fact clarity, a recentering of his values, goals, and emotional investment. When you see him step back, understand it's not a vanishing act, it's evolution. He has learned that the greatest respect he can show others is born from the respect he first gives himself. In that stillness, his message echoes louder than any plea ever could. I am no longer chasing connection. I am becoming it. Number two, he begins to value quiet over conversation. This isn't about punishing you with silence. It's about curating his internal world. When a Sigma male grows quieter, it's not withdrawal, it's refinement. His silence is a filter, not a weapon. In a society obsessed with constant noise, he chooses depth over volume, meaning over attention. This selective communication is rooted in psychology. Introverted yet analytical minds like his operate on cognitive conservation. Studies in personality psychology, particularly around the Myers-Briggs INTG or ISTP archetypes, show that such individuals recharge through solitude and meaningful engagement rather than social stimulation. Over time, the Sigma learns that energy is currency, and casual interactions often cost more than they return. So, he moves toward fewer conversations, but far richer ones. Surface talk, gossip, and empty validation lose their charm. His curiosity demands authenticity, and his time becomes sacred ground. Instead of spreading himself thin across circles that offer little depth, he invests in those who mirror his values. People who think critically, dream boldly, and act with integrity. This is not arrogance. It's emotional intelligence. The Sigma male understands that alignment and mutual respect build the strongest bonds. Research in social dynamics suggests that high-value individuals prioritize reciprocal relationships, where both sides grow from the exchange. To him, every connection is either an anchor or a sail. It either holds him down or helps him rise. So, when your presence adds more weight than lift, his availability naturally drops. It's not revenge. It's resonance. He recognizes that peace is more valuable than constant validation, and that silence can be more intimate than words. His conversations become intentional acts of presence, like well-crafted art rather than background noise. He listens more than he speaks because he knows listening reveals truth, while talking often hides insecurity. When he does speak, it carries weight, not because he demands authority, but because he has learned the power of restraint. The world might call him distant, but in truth, he's more connected than ever, to himself, his purpose, and the select few who meet him in that depth. In a culture that confuses accessibility with authenticity, the Sigma male embodies the opposite. His silence isn't absence, it's alignment. He's not avoiding people. He's protecting his frequency. And in that quiet space, he builds clarity, strength, and peace that most only find when the noise fades. Number 3, he observes more than he speaks. When the warning phase begins, something subtle but powerful shifts in the Sigma male's energy. You'll notice it first in his eyes. Calm, steady, but distant. They no longer seek understanding, they measure it. His posture straightens, not out of arrogance, but out of realization. He has seen enough, said enough, and done enough. This is the point where words become secondary and silence becomes his loudest form of communication. Psychologically, this behavior stems from emotional intelligence and self-respect. Sigma males operate from a foundation of observation rather than reaction. They know that people's patterns reveal far more truth than their promises ever could. When he becomes quiet, it isn't out of coldness, it's clarity. He no longer feels the need to explain what should have been understood long ago. Research in social and behavioral psychology shows that individuals with high self-awareness tend to withdraw communication once they realize their boundaries are being ignored. It's not passive aggression. It's the maturity of recognizing that repetition no longer serves a purpose. At this phase, the Sigma male's attention becomes his most guarded resource. His silence speaks volumes about disappointment, about standards, and about lessons learned. This phase is often mistaken for detachment, but in truth, it's a recalibration. He's reassessing who deserves proximity to his world. Think of it as a psychological audit. He reviews loyalty, consistency, and respect. If those elements don't add up, he walks away, not in anger, but in peace. History and philosophy often celebrate this trait as stoic composure. Ancient Stoics like Marcus Aurelius emphasize that a wise man does not need to argue his worth. He simply embodies it. The Sigma male carries this principle in modern form. When trust has been extended and repeatedly tested, his patience doesn't erupt. It expires. In relationships, friendships, or business, his quiet withdrawal marks the end of negotiation. This is when he remembers his value, not through ego, but through awareness of how much energy he's given. Once he reaches this point, nothing you say can bring him back, unless actions align with integrity. Because for him, loyalty isn't a word, it's proof. His silence is not punishment, it's preservation. It's the moment when he reclaims his focus, his peace, and his freedom. When a Sigma male reaches this stage, understand this. He's not walking away out of pride, he's walking toward peace, finally honoring the worth he once gave freely. Number 4, he sets boundaries with precision and calm. As the final warning takes root, the Sigma male's boundaries begin to sharpen, not with rage or resentment, but with unmistakable clarity. This moment is often misunderstood by those around him. It's not about punishment or revenge, it's about self-preservation. When he says, "I'm no longer available in that way," he's not being cold. He's reclaiming his energy. And sometimes he doesn't say a word. He simply fades out, leaving behind a silence that speaks volumes. This quiet withdrawal is not an act of cruelty, but a declaration of peace. The Sigma male understands something most people overlook, that boundaries are not walls built to isolate, but filters designed to protect one's mental, emotional, and spiritual health. Psychologically, boundaries are essential for maintaining self-respect and emotional balance. According to clinical research, individuals who enforce healthy boundaries experience lower stress levels and higher self-esteem. They know where they end and where others begin. For the Sigma, this clarity is vital. His independence, solitude, and reflective nature thrive on equilibrium. He doesn't chase validation or approval because he already knows his worth doesn't depend on how much he gives to others. When someone disrespects him, lies to him, or takes advantage of his loyalty, the line is crossed and the door closes. Not because he hates them, but because he refuses to live in chaos. This behavior aligns with the psychological principle of self-differentiation, the ability to stay true to oneself while maintaining emotional boundaries in relationships. Unlike people who cling to toxic connections out of fear or guilt, the Sigma male understands that distance is sometimes the purest form of respect. His silence is not weakness, it's wisdom. He would rather walk alone in truth than stay surrounded by falsehood. In a society that often romanticizes self-sacrifice, his decision to step away can appear cold, yet it is deeply grounded in self-respect. He knows that not every bridge deserves repair and not every door should reopen. Once his trust is broken, the lock turns, not out of bitterness, but out of understanding that peace is more valuable than constant compromise. In that final act of quiet withdrawal, the Sigma male isn't closing himself off from the world. He's opening himself to a life where his boundaries, peace, and purpose coexist without apology. Number 5, he detaches emotionally without bitterness. Detachment doesn't mean a man loses his feelings, it means he finally understands where to place them. It's not emotional coldness or indifference, it's emotional maturity. When a man learns detachment, he stops seeking validation from someone else's response. He realizes that his worth isn't dependent on being understood, appreciated, or loved back in the same way he gives. This is not arrogance, it's self-awareness. Psychology calls this emotional self-regulation, the ability to manage one's emotions rather than being ruled by them. Studies have shown that people who practice detachment experience lower stress levels and better mental clarity because they no longer base their happiness on unpredictable external factors. When he sees that his efforts aren't reciprocated, he doesn't explode or seek revenge. He simply withdraws the emotional investment. Like a wise investor recognizing a poor return, he understands that continuing to pour energy into a draining situation doesn't make him noble, it makes him empty. So he steps back, not to punish, but to protect. The world keeps spinning, and so does he. Instead of chasing closure, he channels that energy into his work, his fitness, his craft, or his purpose. This is what Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius referred to as focusing on what lies within one's control. By detaching from outcomes, he reclaims his power. His sense of peace becomes his anchor, not the shifting tides of someone's affection. Modern psychology supports this ancient wisdom. The practice of detachment strengthens emotional intelligence, increases resilience, and builds self-worth independent of others' approval. The detached man still feels deeply, but he chooses where to let those feelings live. He can care for someone and still walk away if the connection begins to cost his inner balance. This is the quiet strength of detachment. It's not a wall, but a boundary. The world may misunderstand his calmness as indifference, but in truth, it's mastery. He's no longer seeking to control or be controlled. He's not trying to win love through sacrifice. He's simply at peace with what is, and in that peace he grows stronger, clearer, and more magnetic than ever before. Number 6, if the warning is ignored, he cuts you off forever. This is the final phase, when all signals have been given and ignored. The door closes, not with a dramatic slam, but with quiet finality. There's no shouting, no spectacle, no farewell speech. Just silence. And in that silence, something powerful happens. The Sigma male, a man deeply attuned to his own value, withdraws not out of anger, but from understanding. Psychologically, this marks what behavioral experts call an emotional cutoff, a conscious decision to disengage from a dynamic that no longer aligns with one's self-worth. It's not punishment, it's preservation. His energy shifts inward, redirecting what was once wasted on misunderstanding or unreciprocated effort back into his own growth. Studies in emotional intelligence reveal that people who set firm boundaries experience greater mental clarity and resilience. For a Sigma, this clarity is liberation. He doesn't chase closure because he realizes closure is self-created. While others might misinterpret his silence as coldness, it's actually self-respect in motion. His world doesn't pause for anyone, it evolves. He doesn't look back because he understands that progress never happens in reverse. In a psychological sense, detachment is an advanced form of self-regulation. It means he no longer allows external validation to determine his peace. He learns to live with the absence, not as loss, but as space. Space to rebuild, to reflect, to rise. For the man who truly knows his worth, no contact is not an end, but a release. It's the moment he reclaims his emotional independence. He honors his path, knowing that solitude is not loneliness, it's alignment. He walks forward, lighter, sharper, and freer, leaving behind not people, but versions of himself that tolerated less than he deserved. And though there's no applause or visible victory, his quiet departure becomes his greatest act of strength. A man who understands that sometimes the most powerful move is no move at all. Understand this, the final warning isn't a threat, It's an announcement. It signals the moment you choose yourself. The high-value man walks away, not in anger, but in alignment. If you're witnessing this in yourself, use it as a sign. Your standards matter. Your peace matters. Your future matters. If you're on the receiving end, listen, reflect, show up or step away, because value isn't just given, it's recognized and honored. If this resonated, Sigmas, take a moment to look inward. Ask yourself, am I still playing nice when I should be standing firm? Am I still waiting when I should be moving forward? The door may remain open, but the key is already changed. If you're ready to live with integrity, strength, and quiet purpose, then subscribe, because the next step of this journey is waiting. Having said this, thank you for watching. Sigmas, sit for a moment, pause, let your breath settle. In the quiet of your mind, consider this. You may have spent years building a fortress around yourself, a space of solitude, self-reliance, and independence. You've processed your challenges alone. You've rejected the crowd. You've chosen to walk off the beaten path. And yet, even now, there remains a shadow, a subtle blind spot, where the man you are today meets the man you could become. Often, as a man who carries the Sigma mindset, you know what you are. You know you're self-sufficient, that you don't need the noise of the pack, and that you craft your own value. You know your strengths. You've lived them. But what you don't always understand is who you are not yet. What lies beneath the version of you that the world sees? What quiet limitations still guide your story? What quietly misplaced beliefs still call the shots? In this video, we're going to explore 6 truths, lesser seen facets, that many Sigma men don't recognize about themselves, not to shame you, not to demand you become something you're not, but to guide you gently into deeper self-awareness. Because the highest value man is not defined simply by his outer independence or his visible achievements. He is defined by what's happening inside, the parts of him he has yet to meet, the patterns he still tolerates, and the evolving horizon of his character. So lean back. Let your mind be open. We're not racing. There's no dramatic twist, just steady truth and a chance to rise, not just outside, but within. Let's begin. Number 1, you're more social than you think. Many Sigma-minded men grow to believe that their strength lies in separation. They find comfort in solitude, taking pride in their independence and their ability to function without needing validation or assistance from others. This self-reliance is often romanticized as the mark of a lone wolf, a man who doesn't follow the crowd but forges his own path. And indeed, there's undeniable power in solitude. It cultivates reflection, self-awareness, and discipline, traits that help a man build internal stability and sharpen his sense of purpose. Yet what's often overlooked is that being a truly high-value man doesn't mean rejecting connection. It means mastering the balance between solitude and meaningful interaction. Psychologically, human beings are social by design. Studies in neuroscience show that the brain releases oxytocin and dopamine during positive social interactions, chemicals tied to trust, motivation, and emotional health. Even Sigma males who prefer independence aren't exempt from this wiring. The desire to influence, to contribute, or to share wisdom is inherently social, even if expressed quietly. When a man mentors a younger peer, collaborates on a project, or helps a friend without seeking recognition, he's still engaging in the social fabric of life, just on his own terms. The danger comes when solitude hardens into isolation. Prolonged disconnection can lead to mental fatigue, emotional detachment, and even cognitive decline. The American Psychological Association has documented how chronic loneliness can impact reasoning and memory, which means even the most disciplined Sigma can lose sharpness without occasional genuine connection. This doesn't mean seeking crowds or forced camaraderie. It means choosing depth over noise, finding a few trusted allies who align with your purpose. In truth, solitude is not the destination, it's the training ground. It's where a man fortifies his principles, learns emotional restraint, and hones his mission. But once prepared, he's meant to re-enter the world, to lead, guide, build, and contribute. Independence without contribution is stagnation. Solitude without service is silence without echo. The real power of a Sigma male lies in using his alone time as preparation for meaningful influence. So examine one area of your life that you've kept strictly solo. Ask yourself, could this grow stronger through shared wisdom or support? You don't need a crowd, but you might need a calibrated connection. In that balance between solitude and sincerity, a Sigma becomes not just independent, but impactful. Number 2, you undervalue your emotional undercurrent. You have likely built a persona of stoicism, calm, composed, and unshaken. That's admirable. It reflects discipline, restraint, and strength in a noisy world where people wear their emotions like badges of drama. But there's a hidden misunderstanding that many high-value men fall into, believing that emotional neutrality equals emotional mastery. True stoicism isn't about being made of stone. It's about being made of understanding. The most powerful man isn't detached from his emotions. He's fluent in them. He feels deeply, but he doesn't drown. He observes the inner storm, studies its direction, and decides when to act. Emotional awareness, not avoidance, is the hallmark of evolved masculinity. Think about it from a biological standpoint. Emotions are data. They evolved as a communication system between your body and your mind, alerting you to threats, opportunities, and meaning. The flash of irritation when something's unfair, that's your instinct defending your values. The sting of longing when someone leaves, that's attachment and human connection, reminding you of your capacity for love. The quiet pride after solving something alone, that's self-efficacy reinforcing your competence. When you suppress these emotional signals, you're essentially muting the guidance system that helps you navigate life. Psychologists call this emotional suppression, and it's been linked to higher stress, lower resilience, and poorer decision-making. The paradox is that the men who fear appearing weak by acknowledging emotion are often the ones controlled by it beneath the surface. A truly stoic man does not suppress feeling. He calibrates it. He allows emotion to pass through him, studies its shape, and then converts it into measured action. It's like a martial artist redirecting an opponent's force, not blocking it, but harmonizing with it. In leadership and relationships alike, this ability to feel without being ruled by feeling is what earns respect. It's the difference between reacting impulsively and responding intelligently. So tonight, as you lie down, do something most men never attempt. Reflect on 3 feelings you experienced yesterday. Don't analyze or justify them, just name them. Maybe frustration, contentment, or loneliness. By labeling them, you reclaim authorship over them. This small act rewires your emotional intelligence and builds your self-command. Remember, masculinity isn't about the absence of emotion, it's about mastery over it. The calmest man in the room isn't the one who feels nothing. It's the one who understands everything he feels and still chooses peace. Number 3, you confuse independence with self-reliance only in action. You've cultivated self-reliance. You take responsibility. You build your domain. You don't wait, you move. That's admirable and rare in a world where many hesitate to act without reassurance. But sometimes the very strength that fuels your independence becomes the wall that limits your growth. Many self-reliant men fall into the trap of believing that to rely on others is to betray their own code. They assume that accepting help, trusting partners, or delegating tasks weakens their identity as capable, disciplined individuals. Yet history, psychology, and even leadership science reveal the opposite. Collaboration, when chosen wisely, multiplies rather than diminishes strength. High-value masculinity isn't about isolation. It's about mastery over self and strategy over ego. Psychologically, true autonomy means having the confidence to trust others without feeling threatened. Studies in organizational behavior show that leaders who delegate effectively achieve higher performance and lower burnout rates than those who attempt to control every outcome. The Sigma male archetype often thrives in solitude, but even the lone wolf hunts within a pack when the goal demands it. Relational self-reliance, the ability to rely on yourself to make wise choices about who and what to depend on, is the next evolution of independence. It's not about surrendering control, it's about refining it. When you learn to leverage others' strengths, you unlock scale. Think of innovators, warriors, and builders throughout history. They all began as individuals, but grew their vision by entrusting parts of it to others. It takes courage to admit that your energy is finite, and that true power lies in orchestration, not exhaustion. Independence was never meant to be a fortress. It was meant to be a foundation, a base from which greater structures could rise. The self-reliant man who refuses to collaborate ends up as his own bottleneck, trapped in a loop of doing rather than leading. So here's the challenge. Look at one area of your life where you're carrying too much alone. Maybe it's your work, your creative pursuit, or even your emotional battles. Ask yourself, who could I involve, empower, or trust to share this load? This question doesn't diminish your self-reliance, it refines it. Because when you build systems, relationships, and partnerships that serve your mission, you step from operator to architect, from one who moves things to one who moves people. That shift doesn't make you weaker, it makes you limitless. Number 4, you measure value by outcome, not by character. It's easy to measure your worth through visible achievements, the title on your business card, the digits in your bank account, or the approval you receive from others. Society reinforces this belief by glorifying external success and overlooking internal substance. Yet when you strip away the applause, what remains is the essence of who you truly are, your character. Many men, especially Sigma males who pride themselves on independence and self-sufficiency, fall into the subtle trap of defining themselves solely by outcomes. They set goals, build systems, and win battles, but sometimes forget to nurture the quiet virtues that sustain true fulfillment. Psychology refers to this as the achievement paradox, the idea that reaching success without inner alignment often leads to emptiness rather than satisfaction. You can build wealth, but without integrity it breeds anxiety. You can gain influence, but without humility it corrodes into ego. You can be efficient, but without empathy you lose connection. True value, what truly separates high-value men from the rest, lies in the intersection between accomplishment and character. It's not just about what you produce. It's about the energy and principles behind it. Think of it as internal architecture. Reliability, respect, and restraint are the unseen beams that hold your legacy upright. In behavioral psychology, this balance reflects emotional intelligence, the ability to manage your own emotions while respecting those of others. High-value masculinity demands not only tangible output, but also invisible discipline, the self-control to stay calm under pressure, the integrity to do the right thing when no one is watching, and the empathy to treat every person with quiet dignity. Many Sigma men mistake silence for detachment or solitude for superiority, but the real mastery lies in maintaining strength without arrogance and independence, without indifference. That void you sometimes feel, even after accomplishing much, is not failure, it's feedback. It's the soul reminding you that success without substance leaves a man incomplete. Take a moment to reflect on one of your proudest achievements. Ask yourself, in chasing that goal, how did I treat others? Did I act with patience, fairness, and gratitude when things weren't going my way? That reflection bridges the gap between doing and becoming. Let your character evolve to match your results, and you'll discover that the quietest victories, honesty, humility, and consistency, are the ones that define your true worth. Number 5, you fear being seen more than you admit. Oddly, the Sigma male often hides in plain sight. You've chosen to avoid center stage, to stay under the radar, to move quietly. That's part of your power. The ability to observe without being observed, to move without noise, and to build without the constant need for validation. But sometimes that very invisibility becomes a limitation. You see, being invisible is not the same as being unseen in the right way. High-value men are seen, not because they seek attention, but because they've earned visibility through purpose, service, and mastery. They are known for reliability, not performance, and respected for competence, not popularity. History shows us that many influential figures operated in this quiet power. Think of Nikola Tesla, whose brilliance shaped the modern world, yet whose preference for solitude often left him overshadowed by louder personalities like Thomas Edison. The lesson isn't to abandon your quiet nature, but to refine how you show up, to ensure your value isn't buried under humility. Psychologically, avoiding visibility can stem from what's called the spotlight effect, a cognitive bias that makes people overestimate how much others notice or judge them. In truth, most people are too preoccupied with their own concerns to scrutinize yours. When you hold back because of fear of judgment, you're essentially surrendering your potential impact to an illusion. It's not about ego, it's about influence. Being visible doesn't mean becoming loud. It means being available. It means letting your skill, your insight, and your integrity be accessible to those who could benefit from them. In a world driven by perception, visibility is a form of stewardship, a way to let your gifts serve a greater purpose. The Sigma male's instinct is independence, to lead himself first. But leadership isn't complete until it extends beyond the self. Your quiet power must, at some point, step into usefulness. If you habitually shrink from visibility, you may miss opportunities to teach, inspire, or lead in subtle but meaningful ways. Start small. Speak up when your idea could solve a problem. Volunteer to mentor someone who's struggling. Lead a discussion, not for applause, but for contribution. The paradox of the Sigma path is this: the more authentic and grounded your visibility becomes, the more invisible your ego grows. What remains is pure influence, quiet, deliberate, and deeply respected. That's not losing your mystery, it's mastering it. Number 6, you don't yet see the legacy you're building. Many Sigma males live deeply in the present, devoting themselves to mastery, independence, and meaningful creation. Their energy flows toward perfecting the craft, managing solitude, and achieving quiet victories. Yet in their relentless focus on the now, they often overlook a crucial dimension of masculinity: legacy. True legacy isn't built through titles, wealth, or loud recognition. It's formed in the subtle imprint you leave on others' lives. Sociologists often refer to this as generative impact, the human desire to create things that outlast us, whether that's through mentorship, family, or the principles we embody. A Sigma's legacy might live in how he carried himself under pressure, the fairness in his leadership, or the calm he brought into chaos. When a man understands this, he stops thinking only in moments and starts thinking in decades. He begins to make choices aligned with the man he once remembered, not just the man he is today. Legacy thinking transforms self-improvement into stewardship, a bridge between personal growth and contribution. That's why it's worth writing one line. I want to be remembered as the man who, and placing it where you'll see it every day. That sentence becomes your compass, reminding you that greatness isn't only about achieving, it's about shaping. Every interaction, every act of restraint, every word of integrity, that's your echo. Long after the noise fades, those quiet ripples become the story others tell when they speak your name. Sigmas, in the gathering quiet of your day, ask yourself, which of these 6 truths do I sidestep most often? Am I more comfortable with solitude than connection? More focused on output than identity? More hidden than seen? Let this not be a judgment. Let it be a gentle turning, because mastery isn't a final destination. It's a posture of becoming. The high-value man doesn't already check all the boxes. He wakes each morning and runs the internal meeting with himself. He aligns his actions with his character, his relationships with his independence, and his legacy with his present. If you found this meaningful, subscribe, share it with a brother who might benefit, and step into the day knowing you're carving a path, not just for yourself, but for the man you will become. Having said this,